Okay, hello, and welcome back to the thing I do, where I talk about music for reason, because I like music and I think music really cool. Today we're gonna be talking about the Beatles, which I'll have so many hot takes about. Um, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts, it's a great one. I have with me a original U.S. pressing with the poster still in it. Not to flex or anything. I'm sorry. But it's the packaging itself before we get to the music. It's a very nice package. It still really holds up well, although it is a sticker. So the entire thing, if you can see, is slightly off center. So that can be slightly irritating when I'm looking at it from my side view, but it doesn't really matter. And the only other issue is that on my copy, there's a giant water stain down a thin line on the back that adds a pop every time it comes up in the record. So the entire B side is practically, you know, damaged. So I had to listen to the second half on Spotify. But other than that, that's all the external complaints out of the way. Now we can begin the actual talking about beautiful record. Now, it is Beatles, so it's probably not going to say anything. I'm probably not going to say anything bad about it because I don't want to get strung out in the street, but, we'll see. So, first up, the intro track, which, the intro track of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Band. Great intro, very iconic, obviously. Everyone knows the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Band. Just sit back and watch the evening. Everyone knows that. It's very iconic, it's catchy, and the guitar riff at the beginning is a great hook that keeps you invested throughout the first half of it. And then, lyricism, they all sync up well, of course. And then, we go on to a little help for my friends. I abbreviated them all in my notes, so if I hesitate for like a solid 3 seconds, that's why. Because I keep grabbing this to look. It was very kind of like an uplifting track, kind of like, all I need in my life is my friends. My friends are awesome, man. I love my friends, right? Just kind of like classical pop song about my friends are awesome. You should have friends too. The world's awesome, but sometimes it isn't, and your friends can help you when it isn't awesome, right? So just kind of good song. All the songs on here are good. There aren't any bad ones. Just, some of them are more in the modern day stereotypically poppy, and you could hear that, because they're influential, so everything sounds like them if you listen hard enough. What was the third? Man, I suck at memory. The third one, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Great one. It is a little repetitive, because it is the same guitar loop, the same thing, but the guitar loop is good and the vocals are good, so it's not repetitive in a bad way. It's good repetitive, It kind of like builds upon itself. The lyrics in the song are good too, very catchy. It's kind of like it could be an allegory for using drugs, which, no one's done that before, especially not in 1967. Who would do such a thing? But it is a good song, very nice. Next up is Getting Better, which Getting Better, they harmonize great on the song. They, their vocals sync up wonderfully. It's like, Blue Album Weezer on a lot of kind of like the way they all synchronize, and it can sound like one voice at times, but it's also, all of them differently, and if you listen, you can hear all their different voices, but just hearing it surface, it just, there's one guy singing, but it sounds like louder, more impactful. Probably made no sense, but it made sense to me. That's what matters. Fixing a Hole. I think it's a good breakup song, because it's like, my mind is wandering, or I wrote pervert song, because my mind's wandering, I have to keep it locked up. You wouldn't survive an hour in the, yeah. It's a good one. It's catchy. These are all catchy. I might be repeating myself a lot. And then the, ooh, in it, very nice. I enjoyed that. It was pretty good. wish I could pull it up, but it is good. I am telling you. Right. Next up, She's Leaving Home. It's a very emotional song with the chorus being, you know, she is leaving home, but then each repetition of the chorus, the backing vocals change to where it's like, so the song's like, okay, this woman, who I'm just gonna say is the wife, right? Otherwise, why would they care so much? It says that she's leaving home, we gave her most of our lives, sacrificed most of our lives, gave her everything money could buy, and yet she's still leaving. And it also says that, she leaves a note, she gets her handkerchief, and she leaves, and she's free. So, it's kind of like she's free from this. And what this is, in my view, is like, we did everything for you, why are you leaving? But, she's in an empty home. She feels trapped. It's kind of, surface level, it seems like, woman, they're so needy. But, if you kind of look into it, it's like, they might say that we never thought of ourselves, but you can tell from when they're writing from her perspective of the events, it's like, she felt alone, she felt empty, she felt like there was nothing in her house. It's just kind of interesting. Next up, for the benefit of Mr. Kite, which is a complete reversal of the, She's Leaving Home, I'm in the circus now, dude. Which, at this point, I wrote in my, notes here, breakup or divorce record, or at least the A-side, because there are a lot of themes of kind of like building up this relationship, and then it's like, and then you go to the circus. I don't know what I was thinking. I'm gonna be honest when I put that down. I think I was thinking, like, tremendously big brain, but I was not. I was small. But, yeah. Mr. Kite, it's very nice. It's kind of like, yeah, we're having so much fun. It could also be, this has just occurred to me, the woman's perspective after leaving the house and finally getting to see the world she's always wanted to. Going to the circus, finding and donating to the amazing Mr. Kite because of how happy the amazing Mr. Kite has made her feel. Or, once again, I'm not doing anything right and I'm being stupid. Hard to tell these days. Then, that's the end of the side A. Pretty solid side A, for a record. Consistent and beautiful. Side B starts off with Within You, Without You, which, freaky name. Right, very interesting name for the thing. But the hook, I said, was very interesting because of the immediate, like, I don't know what the instrument's called, but, like, you hear it in those, like, generic, like, Indian or Arabic tracks, and it was very, like, a complete change. Like, I flipped the disc over, and it was just, like, immediately I noticed there was something different. I mean, like, duh, but it was just, like, more musical influence with all of the people around them, because you can kind of tell throughout the record they're trying to introduce the audience to more musical ideas through their guitar riffs, through their vocals, through the way they speak. I think it's very interesting. It's experimental. For the 60s, it's experimental. And then we've got When I'm 64, which could also tie in to the love theme throughout the album, which it's Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts. Of course, there's love themes in the album, but it's just kind of like, when I'm 64, are you gonna care about me? Like, are you gonna, like, still be there for me if we're married? If we're still together, are you gonna care anymore? Which, it's a good thought. The execution is put out well. I wrote that it is pretty catchy, and it was. Although, because I have the memory of a goldfish, I have forgotten it entirely. But I'm sure upon second listen, it will stick in my head. Which I will give this a second listen, most definitely. And then we have Lovely Rita, which, in the modern day, sounds like an absurdly generic poppy love song. And I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just saying that I've heard at least 3 other songs like this. No, maybe not sounding exactly like that, but it's similar. It's back then, it was probably like, wow, this is a great song. You know, the guitar on it's great, the vocals on are wonderful, but it's just kind of, you know, oh, lovely Rita, she's so lovely. Look at how pretty she is. She might not be conventionally feminine, but look at how beautiful she is. Baby, you light up my world like nobody. You feel me? It's the same message we're getting, you know, over and over again, like 2010s pop, but it's with a different instruments, different execution of the idea. So I still do like it. It just kind of, you know, yeah. Good morning, good morning. I didn't know Kanye co-wrote this album, but who did it first, Kanye or the Beatles? Think about it. I like the riffs on that one, the guitar especially, and then when the trumpets come in with the guitar and like riff with the guitar, I thought that sounded really nice. I liked it a ton because it was just kind of like pretty nice. And then the closer on this pressing, which is the one I'm using for reference on Spotify, there is a redux for the intro track. Let me make sure. Yeah, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Reprise. That is not on the track list or the actual physical record that I am holding in my hand. The lyrics aren't here. It could be an instrumental track, and I have completely messed up this review entirely. But who cares? You for listening, because you trust me to be your #1 source of music. Oh, you know. Anyway, A Day in the Life. It is very interesting for a closer, because you've got this album full of upbeat, you know, happy. You know, there's one sad song, but then it's, you know, immediately cuts back to happy song, right? But then with this one, it's the closer. There's nothing else after this. And it's like, I read on the news, oh man, you're gonna want to hear this, like, I shot himself in his car because, like, he shot himself in his car. I didn't see the light turn green. So I chuckled at that a bit as I looked at the picture of it. You know, when you think about that, it's kind of gruesome, but again, it's kind of like, I had to laugh at that. I mean, look at that guy. And this guy over here, shooting himself in his car. You know, kind of ironic coming from this guy, but... And it's kind of like... And then everyone, you know, came and stared at him. And then it cuts to the English army, which could be the reason the guy shot himself is because of war and what he experienced in the said war that there's now films about, books about, as he says. He had, you know, they won the war, people looked away, but he had to look. You know, he read the book, he wanted to find more about it, right? And then, you know, I love to turn you on. Very out of pocket. Because it's like out of nowhere, he's like, I want to turn you on. No, get away from me. Weird. That guy just killed himself and you want to freak? But it's good. Alright, and then it's, you know, there's this real big, like, kind of drone, which I was completely not expecting from something made roughly 60 years ago. I was not expecting, like, this more modern sounding drone to kick in, like the and then it cuts back to the song. You know, you roll out of bed after presumably, not risen, charming this woman, and, you know, he's late for work. So he brushes his hair, grabs his hat, runs to the bus in seconds flat, and then he just goes upstairs and smokes. Somebody talked to him, and he went into a dream about when he read the news about Albert Hall in Blackburn, Lancashire. I don't know what that is because I didn't do any research before doing this, but I'm sure that it was some kind of wartime event or bombing or attack, and he's reflecting on what he's lived through, saying that kind of element. And then it's just like, I want to turn you... And then the ending of it was there's a chunk of silence, and then it's like this radio cut in, and then you hear just this looping voice. I forget what she's saying, but it's just a very interesting song ending, especially for an album like this. But for an album like this, that kind of what did I just listen to kind of works for that as a closer, as like a this is over now, you can go home. But yeah, overall, it's a pretty good album. You know, it was experimental back then, and now it's like a classical album that influenced literally everything that came after it. No matter how hard you look, this was influential. You know, Beatles are influential, not just this, but you know, their whole genres that just take their entire personality from this album. Right? Yeah. And it's good. I give it a solid 9 out of 10 because there's a couple points where not a 10 out of 10 because there are times where I'm like, because for the sleepiness of the closer, or rather the song before the closer, Good Morning, I was starting to yawn and my eyes were having trouble staying open. I'm not saying that that's the record's fault. It has been a bit of a long day, but I'm also not saying it's not the record's fault, if you get what I'm saying. Overall, I liked it. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you think my music taste sucks and you want to dunk on me more later. I'll be anxiously awaiting your approval. Ta-ta.